Alright, welcome to another video tutorial where I teach you how to use Mobirise, small business, your small organization. I've had a lot of requests recently about contact form, and specifically using or building your own contact form and how to do that with Mobirise. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video. I'm going to take you all the way through a full tutorial about not only how to build a contact form using the HTML code editor in Mobirise, the add-on, but also how to connect it to make it work so that it actually sends an email. Now, I've contacted the Mobirise support team, and they have told me that anytime you make any changes to the contact form that they provide as a content block, that it actually, in essence, breaks the form. So if you don't use the form as it is, but you make some changes to it in the HTML, you add your own forms, then you're going to have to actually add your own backend, send it. So this is something that some people have been frustrated with. Some of the more advanced users of Mobirise who need something a little bit more than just name and email and phone number. Although that's what I'm going to show you today. You can use this with any number, any complexity of forms, any number of form fields. So hopefully this will help out a lot of people who've been wondering how to integrate their own contact form into Mobirise, but also have it actually send. So let's hope that this all works. When I did the test, it did all work. And then we're going to be using a PHP script in order to connect the information that's being sent from the form to the PHP to the email. You'll see how it all works out. Couple of things. Let's get our environment all set up. So first, I have a Mobirise website here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add HTML content block here. We have the space where we're going to put our contact form, and then we also need a contact form. So we're going to be using Bootstrap since Mobirise is based upon Bootstrap. It's easiest just to go ahead and use it. You could use just straight HTML, or you could use any number of styles that you create all on your own. I'm just going to use the base form group styles and what do they call it? They call it form control, which gives it this nice kind of look to it. So you can style these inputs any way that you want to, but I'm just going to go ahead and use Bootstrap because it looks nice. And that's found at getbootstrap.com/CSS. So when you get to the top, click on CSS, and over here on the side, see that it says forms. So you just click on forms and it'll take you right down to it. We are not going to use this basic form, which we've used in the past. We're actually going to put together a form using some of these individual blocks here. So these are the different inputs here. We're just going to use a few text inputs and a text area and a button. That should get us where we need to go. So we have our Bootstrap ready for when we're ready to reference it. What I've also done is I've actually created the PHP snippet, and I've put it onto the website tutorial, the website builder tutorial site. So that's found at website-tutorial.highwaywebconsulting.com, and I'll just take you right there. We'll take a look at the front page, and then we'll go right into the resource. So here's where you can go through all the basics basically of Mobirise, how to get a project started, how to deal with all the content blocks that are on Mobirise. Those are all videos, by the way, so when you click on that, video comes up. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can actually see all of the videos at this website. It should be linked up in the show notes, each video notes about the complete website builder. But this is meant to show you how to build a website for your small business organization completely from start to finish, including getting the environment set up, setting up the different blocks and what they do and how to use them, and then also how to publish it either to Drive, or you can publish it to a local folder which you put onto a server, or you can actually publish straight to the server using Mobirise, which is, I think, the most powerful way to use it if you can get it all set up right. Where our code snippet is under the resource. Click on resources. These are resources that you can use, that we're building for you to use with your Mobirise. Now this is the premium template that you can use to get you started, but there are lots of free things, including the code snippets down here at the bottom. Now, I haven't put them on here, but I am going to put the free snippet on here, so when you get this, you can go to this page, website tutorial.howwebconsulting.com/resources.html, and you'll be able to find it right here is where I'm going to put it. And that will be a free snippet, a free code snippet that you can download. All you'd have to do, just like this one, download it, and then you unzip it, so it's a zip folder. You'll unzip it, and then you'll have the PHP file ready to go. Let's just say for now, because I don't have this on here yet, that we are going to be able to download. We've already downloaded it, we've unzipped it, and now it's on my computer. Okay, so we're going to kind of skip that step, but just know that that step will be there whenever you read this, and you'll be like, where is the code snippet? It's going to be on this page, so /resources. Alright, so we have our files ready to go, and we have our environment ready to go. Let's go ahead and hammer out the code for the form. So I'm just going to get rid of this. You don't need this. This is for Mobirise. So what we're going to start with, we're going to make this a section. So it's very important that you make this a section. And I'm going to go ahead and make this class of container. I'm not sure if that's completely necessary, but I like to put it in there. That's one of the Bootstrap classes that turns it from a fixed width section or a div, and it makes it fluid. So it allows it to be mobile responsive. You can read up more about it on the getbootstrap.com. Next, we're going to do div.row. All I'm doing, by the way, is this is called Emptynet, a special sort of add-on or plugin that comes with the HTML editor here. So I'm just clicking div and then the class, just like you would talk about a class down in the CSS.row, and then I'm hitting tab. Unless you hit tab, and it actually creates a div in the HTML with the class of row. You can learn more about Emptynet at you can look it up on search engine. Yeah, I believe it's EMETT. If you look up Emptynet CSS, EMETT or EMM, something like that, you can learn more about it. So if you're a developer and you want to work a little bit quicker, faster than having to do div and close the div, this is one way to make it faster. And actually, the code editor here comes. So does the one that I use, Atom, just through GitHub. It makes writing your HTML a little bit. Some people use Jade. I like to use Emptynet with code editor of my choice. So we have a row, and in the row, we're going to create another div, class of column, extra small 12, then another class of column small. Actually, let's do column small. We'll do 6, and then if I'm just trying to remember what I did before. Then there's another. I'll show you what that looks like. Now I'll show you the next part. Close tab. Now you can see I've created a div with the column on extra small. So on mobile phones, it's going to be full width, 12 columns across. And on small, which is going to be tablets for Bootstrap, small is a tablet, medium is a laptop computer like I have, so 1200 pixels wide or something like that, up to 14. and then large is super large, 1400 and above resolution computers. So I'm doing 12 columns across for a mobile phone, so they should all just stack right on top of each other. They're going to do the same thing with a small 6 because I'm only going to create one column here. But what this allows me to do is to center it. This is something that Mobirise actually uses for their own contact form, so I thought that in there. But as it is, it's only going to take up half of the screen. So we're going to have to do something to push that over to the. So I will show you what that looks like by using something called an offset, the grid, and offsetting columns. So you can see that this is column for medium 3, so it's only 3 columns across. They've actually offset it by 3 columns, so this is actually the middle. This is 6, because 3 plus 3 is 6. And so it normally would start here, just like this one. You can see that they've offset this one by 4. So normally that one would start here and go here, but they've offset it, they've pushed it to the right by 4 columns. So this is kind of an interesting way that you can push things around on the web page, kind of get some space around things or between with columns. So back to our code. What we're going to put inside of here is a form. Now, if you don't know HTML, form starts with a form tag. It ends with a closing form tag. Anytime you have a form, you should always begin and end it with a form, because it'll allow you to do it without it. But you're not going to be able to have this. And this is the part that we really need. I'll show you why later. But that's the part that when you submit the form, we're going to tell it where to go in order to put our information that we fill. That's going to be there. I'm actually going to create in here something called method equals post. I'll tell you more about that later, but we're going to need that. I just don't want to forget it. Okay, so what we do is we need to go back to our Bootstrap code, back to forms, and I'm just going to go down here and copy and paste some of the inputs. You can see here the inputs can be all kinds of things. You can use just text, do a password, or you could do numbers or emails or a URL. So you can make these inputs specific. What you would do is you would put that part right here. So if someone tried to put in you put the URL type here. Someone tried to put in one that doesn't have the @ sign in it, like a .com or .something, then it's going to cause an error. If you're validating your form, it'll cause an error. So that's something that you can control validation and make sure that they're putting in the right thing into the right place. And some of these will determine, like if you have a number there, you look on a mobile phone, you click on the text input, it's actually going to give you the choice of a. So this is for HTML5, which is a version of HTML. And it's actually there for mobile, and it'll help the mobile users to be able to have the right information without having to type everything in. But it'll be mobile based choosing and things like that. You've seen rollers, the date pickers, like that. So it'll use the native app's ability to handle numbers and dates and months, URLs and stuff like that. So if you put URL, it'll actually change the mobile keyboard so that it'll be easier for someone to type in a URL. So this is really good web practice to be able to put the right type of type into the correct text input. So what I'm going to do is just copy that, and we're just going to put this in a few times. So one, we're going to have a name. Next line we'll have an email address. Next line we'll have a phone. And the next line is going to be a text area for someone to put in a longer piece of text. So a text area is different. You don't use the same input for text areas. That's a larger place for you to write a longer message. So we have to use what's called the text area, and you also close that with a text area. This is when you're learning HTML. That's one of the hard ones. Kind of remember it first. So we're just going to put that in there, copy and paste it. Change the rows to 10. This will actually make the box a little bit taller. And this is our basic form. Let's go ahead and put the placeholder. The placeholder is what's going to be inside of it. So this part here that says text area, that's actually the placeholder. So when someone starts typing, that's going to go away. But that gives you a way to let people know what this box is. I like that look. Lots of people like the look. Some people like to have, like this is over the top of it. They like to have an actual label. I like to have the text area there. We're building kind of a rough and tumble form here. You should read up more about accessibility and things like that with forms, because if you're a blind person who is trying to access the site, or if there's some other sort of accessibility issue and you need special help in order to get through the web page, it actually is better for you to have a label than to hide that label if you don't want to show. There's some other things that are going on with accessibility. But for this particular example, I'm not going to go through all the machinations. It's not about building forms. It's about making a basic form and then getting it to work with Mobirise. So that's what we'll focus on. So the first thing we need is a name. And actually, I'm going to put full name, their whole name in. And one of the things that we need to add is called name. And name on for this one is just name. A little redundant, but we're actually going to copy this so that we can paste it into the. Each of these needs to have its own unique name, because it's going to connect to the PHP form, and it's going to pull the information from this line, whatever it is, whatever the name is. It's going to pull that information in that someone typed. So this has to have a unique modifier, a unique name. This one's going to be called email, called phone. It's going to be called message. You can name these whatever you want. You're just going to have to make sure that they match up in the PHP file, and I'll show you that later. But these are already in the PHP file, so, and they're basic, name, email, phone. Everybody understands that. But if you have a more complex form, you're going to have to put more complex naming structure. And I want to change these so that they're the correct HTML5 types. Now text is appropriate for the name, because the person needs to input text. But for the email, someone needs to make sure that it validates to put in. And then for a phone, there is, we're just going to use the number. Oh, telephone, TEL. TEL stands for telephone. So they're going to be looking for some sort of phone number, or on a mobile device. Like, let's say you're visiting this form on a phone, and you hit that input block, and you touch it with your finger, or you move down to the next one. It's going to bring up the numerical number pad, because you're inputting a phone number, so it actually gives you textual keyboard to fill in that more quickly. This is actually a really good. We need to make sure that we put the placeholder, change the placeholders. It's going to be email address, phone number. So let's look. We have type text, and this is going to style our form for Bootstrap. The placeholder is going to say full name, and our hidden name. This is hidden information. This is not something that the user sees, but this is. The name is going to be name. For here, it's email, email address, name is email, input type telephone, phone number and phone. And then this one here is text area. It has the same form control class, so it's styled that way. This one telling how many rows, essentially, so rows across this way. How many of these? So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It originally was 1, 2, 3. So you can see the area is shorter, not as tall as what we're making it. We want to make it a little bit taller. And then the last thing that we need is another input. So copy this and paste it down here. Now this input is special. This is the submit input. And we're going to add a special class. Actually, let's keep that. And then we're going to add an extra class to it. We're going to make this a button. So in Bootstrap, B is the designation button class. I also want to make button large, so you can have a small button, regular size button, but I think they have extra small and extra large. Oh, and then also we're going to give it a color. So call it button dash primary. Now we've used button colors and things before in different tutorials that we've done. Anytime you use the primary modifier for the button class, then it's going to make it a particular color. Whatever the color for primary is, the website, if you're just using straight Bootstrap, not Mobirise, it's going to be like a real bright blue. Typically, it's going to be a blue color. If you can use warning, yellow, or an orange or yellow, use S, which would be green. You can use info, typically is like a bright blue as well, or you can use danger. Now, danger is going to be red. So think about what those words mean and how they relate to colors. Help you to remember which color is. The placeholder here, we're going to put type your message. Or message. Then the name is going to be something different. So let's take that off, and instead of name, we're going to call it value equals. I don't want to submit. Okay, so this is a button. It's an input type of submit, so it's like a submit button or thing. That's going to have the class of form control, just like everything else. But we're also going to make it look like a button. Button large, button primary, so it'll be a blue color. It's going to be a large button. The placeholder text is type your question. Then the value, this is what's going to be shown to what they're going to see on the button itself. So there's one last thing that we need to, and I'll show you why. Let's just go ahead and save. Okay, so we have our form here. You can see, won't let me. But we have our form. There's a button here. Our button, our text field. This is our email address and full name. Oh, I put the wrong placeholder. I don't need a placeholder for the button. I need a placeholder. The text area. Do that here, and we'll just add it here. So we want to type our message or our question here, not in the button. Now it shows up, and you can see that it's only 6 columns across. So we have, I would say, a regular sized form. But you can see that it starts on the. We're actually going to right hand into the middle. So what we do, you can see here that in between, these are all just stacked on top of each other. Now the reason for that is because we have our input, the HTML, that are all stacked up on top of each other right here. And there's nothing to differentiate them or add any space. You could go into input down in your add space. Bootstrap already does this, so they make it pretty easy. Let's go to you can see in the form here that it says div class form group, and it closes the div right here. So that's what we're going to do. And what that does is it creates this kind of some padding and space around each of the elements. So normally you would do a label. Wanted to do a label up here on top of it. This is what it would look like here. Add that label. And then the for text would be whatever the ID or the name is. Usually the ID, you would give it an ID. Say this label is for this input. That's the part that we're not going to. Let's just copy part. What I'm going to do is then closing div. I'm just going to copy that. We have 1, 2, 5 inputs. Copy that and paste it 5 times. And then we'll just copy and paste each of these into it. That's a little bit tedious, but you'll see that it makes the a lot nicer. And the great part about these CSS frameworks is they have gone through line by line. They've looked at, when you apply this, what's it going to look like? And so you don't have to make all those decisions necessarily for yourselves, whether you don't have much experience with or CSS, not much of a designer. You can actually use these classes that have already been pre-made by things like Bootstrap or Foundation, and just add them right in. It gives you, just right out of the box, it gives you a really nice style to work with and change. It gives you a nice style to be to just use the site. So let's take a look at this. Each of these is inside of a div called form-group. Now you can see it separates them very nicely in this bottom button out a little bit. Let's go ahead and push this over to the right a little. Come back up to this is where we controlled our column. We're going to add another class called column, and we want this to happen on small and above. Try it on small and see how it looks. We're going to push this over columns, and let's see how that looks. Sorry. Small offset -3. So that pushes us over to the middle. You can see here that it's going to shrink your space down a little bit. Then on mobile, it's not going to push it at all. If we had set this to set this instead to extra small, you see how it pushes over the form, but we don't want that on the extra small. We want that starting at the small, which for Bootstrap small is tablet size. So it's going to start doing that here. If you want to finesse that a little bit, you could say column small offset 2, column medium offset 3. See the difference here. So you can see that it's only offsetting it by 2, so it looks kind of like it's a little bit off kilter here. And here it's centered. So essentially what you have is you have 6 columns in the middle, pushed over 3 columns. So 6 and 3 makes 9. So it's automatically going to center it here, because now you have 3, you have 3, and then you have 6 in the middle. So that's the one way that they're using, especially in Mobirise, to be able to center the contact form. So if you want to adjust the contact form one way or another, then you should just change the way that the offset is. this in the code whenever you wanted to make this medium. And what's going to happen is medium, remember, is desktop above, small tablet below, extra small is from a mobile device up, tablet is small and up. So for our, you can make this all the way across on a tablet by what I did column medium 6. So from extra small up to medium, extra small and small, up to this, and it's going to be 12 columns with full width across. You wanted to do medium and above, then it would be 6 columns like I talked about, and then there's an offset of 3, so that would essentially it for any of the desktop views. That makes for a nice form. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe you don't want the space around, or it works well with your website to not have the space all the way around it. Totally up to you, but it's that easy to make changes to columns across for your contact form. All right, let's what's next? We have our contact form. This is it. Everything's filled out. Everything's done well. Now what we need is, when I fill this out and I click submit form, I need the information in here to be processed and emailed to me, to a specific email. So that's the part that we're going to work on now. This is all the front end, what we call the front end part of the form. And now we're going to work on what's called the back end of the form. And this is all going to go onto the server, but we actually are going to need to create some things first. I actually have a file here. Find it very quickly. Have it here. What I'm going to do, open this, and this is going to be all the code that we need to be able to send a message in our Mobirise content. You can see here that it says this variable is equal to post. Remember, we chose post as our method. Our method of sending information. You can either use post or you can use get. Typically with just a general contact form, where you're not asking a database to send back information. You want to post it. You want to send this information somewhere, have it processed. Get would be like a search. So I search for this, you go out and you get it and you bring it back. So that's not typically what we use. You could, but it's not. The method of post. So because we're using the method of post, we need this part right here. This is PHP, like a global variable or global function that they use, post. And then it's going to have the name of name. So that's brackets, single quote, and the name. Remember, whenever we, out of our form, when we created name value for the input, this is going to be equal to this part right here. So we're saying create a variable that holds the information contained that's been posted to this form from the input named phone, or from the input named, and you're going to call that variable phone. You're going to call that variable email, and then down here in the form content, we're actually going to call back this variable. So it's going to take the information from a priority, but it's going to take the information from phone It got posted from the contact form, and it's going to store it like a box. I'm going to put that into this little variable called $phone, and now we can use the information that's stored in that little box. We can put it different places so that we can then down here we're saying mail, the recipient, subject, all the form content, so all the content that was called up here, or that was stored up here. We're going to put it in here. We're going to call that information. Then we're also going to put the mail header, which is here, from someone. And then that's going to be emailed to us. So that's essentially what this form is. Some of these things we don't have. All we have is name, email, phone, message. You can get rid of, actually. You can use those if you wanted to, or you could create a whole new phone. Let's say, I don't know what. Okay, here's a good one. So on my contact form on my website, I have one called organization. So essentially, we just copy, paste this, then you need to change this to whatever you're going to call it. So maybe it's org. And I would create a new input name called org or organization, whatever you want it to do. And this will be your business that's contacting you. You would have their name. Then you would have to match this by going back to your website. Essentially, you would just create a new text input. That's all it would be. Add it here. And instead of full name, you would say org. This one has to match our PHP, right? Org. This would be a text, like a name. So now you have a new text input. So if we look at it, you can see here we have a text input called organization name. Now that name is also connected to our PHP. So when someone fills out input that's named org, then it's going to store that information, organization name, in this variable. And then we would need to call back this variable at some point. So essentially you could do this, copy this, then put it, pretty much wherever you wanted to. Then you would call this org. I'm doing it this way because it's just fine. We're using the email information to fill in who this is from, that in the email that we send, but you could also add it here. This is what's actually going to show up inside the message, the email that you get. So if you wanted to add their email address to in message, then you would just take that, you would simply copy and paste in. That was bad. Off. Would do it on. Would just create. Then that's going to add the name, organization, the phone. Have some little text markers that show you. So it'll say organization, colon, then it'll use that dynamic from this variable to add that. But every email you get is going to say organization, whether they filled that in. The email. You could see whether someone up parts of your. I know it may be getting a little bit confusing to you, but I think you'll see how it all comes back together. So we only need phone, email, org, name. Then we need down. So let's just get rid of phone, callback, site, priority, and type. But we do need this little slash. So what that does is adds a break, adds a line break. So if you leave that out, then it's going to have phone, and then on the same line it's message, which is not going to make for much clarity your email. So leave these slash backslash in, leave those in each of information. Okay, and we don't need these things up here. We don't need call, website, priority, or type. Get rid of them. Now we have name, email, phone, org, message. Then here we have name, org, email, phone, message. So we're all linked up. Every piece of information that's typed in here is actually going to be stored here in one of these variables. And then when the email gets sent out, then it's going to output from, and whatever the person has typed for name and it's stored in this variable, it's going to show up. There'll be a line break. So the next line down will say organization, and then whatever they stored in this org, whatever they posted, will get stored here, and then call it back here, print it, and then it'll be another line break and so on. The recipient, this is something you need to change. For me, it's going to be my email address. For you, it would be whatever email address that you want to send this email to. So it could be any valid email address you could. Just make sure that it's in between the double quotes and that at the end of the line is a the subject is going to be the subject of the email. Just say Mobirise test contact form, and this is going to show up, whenever you have your list of emails. It'll show you the subject of. This is mail header is going to tell you who it's from. So it's going to be from whoever sent the email. So whatever email they posted and they copied it into the email variable, then that's going to be put into the areas from colon whatever the person. And then finally, the call to actually send all of this information right here, to mail it, or there's going to be an error. So if there's an error, it'll show error. Then at the end, after you send the email, there's this line here, and it says echo. Echo means print on screen. So it's going to echo the words thank you. And then there's going to be a dot. I'm sorry, the dot is part of the PHP notation. There's thank you, and then we're going to have like a dash or a hyphen, and then the next piece of information is this link that links to, say, return home, and it'll link, and when you click it, it'll go to this whatever URL that you want. So if you want to send them back to your home page, or if you want to send them back to whatever page they were on, you would just put whatever the web page's address is. So when they click that link, it'll go back to it. I just want to send them back to my home page. Need the HTML.com. That looks good. You don't need the style here. They just did some inline styles to show it won't look like a goofy link. You can add some style to it. And so this is going to print out after you send the form, and then they'll have the ability to go back to the home, back to whatever page you want. You can explore this further. There's a tutorial that I went through in order to get all this information, get these files, and you can do that in each. I like to automatically try putting that in there as well. I'm not going to do that for this. I just like I'm taking a lot of time already, so I just like through so you can start creating a form. What we're going to do is we're going to save that, and I'm going to save it in a place already set called Mobirise contact test. I'm just going to call it mail. It's a PHP file, so it'll be mail.php. Exactly how you should save it. If you want to save it as something different, it could throw things off. So that's I'm going to save it there. Go back to Mobirise. We have one more thing that we need. I told you before about the form action. Now the method is post. We've already taken care of that, so that's going to match up nicely with our. And the form action is going to be where you want to send this information. Now we want to send it to that PHP file that we just created so that it can take all this information that it's posting and put it into that code. That code can take that information and mail it. So we need to send this to mail.php. Simple as it. Close it. That's all underlying. That's not anything that you're going to see on the form, but it's necessary for the be able to go where it needs to go. Let's click publish, and we're just going to publish this locally to the folder I just showed. Mobirise contact form test. Publish the files. Now you can see here that I'm still on my local computer, right? Being pulled from my desktop, the files that I just published. We try to submit the form. It should not do anything because I don't have it set up server. Okay, so you're telling me here it needs to include the @ in the email address. So already you can see there's validation in the made this in email. So you could do @whatever.com. It validates. What happens is because this is all local, it sends me straight to this file and then it outputs the PHP. So instead of running this PHP code, it just sends me to file and it's mail.php, and then we're just looking at the code. But what we want is for this code to run background, but it requires a server running PHP to be able to do. So most credible, commercial servers that you're going to get, like GoDaddy, Bluehost, or whatever server hosting that should be able to. They can't, and you get it all hooked up. I would contact your web host and tell them what you've done. Maybe even send them this video, and they'll be able to help you get the right kind of hosting, or be able to help you. Alright, so this is not what we want. What we want is this. And the way that we do that, go to our host. We open. I like to use FileZilla for PHP, and not for PHP, but for moving files. Right now I have my Mobirise contact form test open. So these are all my files, including the mail.php. And what I need to do is connect to my server. So however you do this, this is your own thing about how you can. I like to use FileZilla because I like, especially when I'm moving multiple files, I can just move it all. Not a big deal. I'm gonna go to post files. That's a whole different video. So I'm assuming that you know how to do that. What I'm going to do is I want to go here where it says Mobirise contact form. So now it's going to be my website, highwaywebconsulting.com, and it's in a folder / Mobirise contact. And then it's going to be index.html. That's going to bring us to where our files are going to be. Empty now. Why I love this, because it's super easy. Watch it happening. I can move multiple files all at the same time. Alerts me whenever all the files are finished, and so it's not a hassle. FileZilla. Now all my files have transferred over. See them here. So this, go to this. This is my local computer where my web hosting. All the files are there. Need to make sure that this mail.php is in the same folder as in, or whatever page you just created that form for. So this is on my home page here. But if you put it on a different page, and that page is in a different directory, like if I put page 1 inside of a folder called internal pages or something, then it would need this mail need to be wherever the contact form created in the general good web practice to have all of your all of your pages on top level all together. You have a special putting them in. You have to make those changes reflected in PHP. So it's getting a little bit more complicated than just put your HTML files all on the top level folder and not inside of a subfolder. Put your mail.php along with the files. So let's open up our web browser to the place that we need. Highway web slash form and slash index.h. So I just moved the files, space, website, except now it's live online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out this form, and I hope that it goes through. That's the hope. Alright, so Brian. Anytime you need information, by the way, you can contact me, Brian, Highway Web. And question will go. Alright, so when I submit my form, what should happen is I should see the thank you page pop up, and I should also get notification I have an email. I should be able to see. Okay, all's good so far. So I have my thank you. Remember, it said thank you. There was a dash. I could return home, and I set this link. Go to Highway Web page, which it does. So everything is good on this end. I go into good. This Mobirise test form. And you can see here that it's from Brian. I did not put in an organization name. Oh, it wasn't on here because I didn't republish all these files after I put. I think that's so it's not right now. And the email. Remember, we put the email field in there, so it's going to show the email address, phone number, and it's going to have a message for all those /ns. Those happen after each of them. Creates a whole. So now you have a header that shows you exactly where it came from, and you have all of your information that you can now either put into a database, or you can around, or you can fill it to. Someone has contacted you, your contact on Mobirise, on your Mobirise website, and has actually been. So anytime you go through and you make changes to the Mobirise the form module, form block inside of Mobirise, up to the contact form. So anytime you make any changes to this, you're going to need to make sure that you connect. If you try it and you put it online and the form doesn't work for some reason, then you're going to have to attach this mail.php form. If you don't have the content editor to be able to click this and go into the form, if you don't have this module, then you're going to have to use sort of a text editor like to be able to go in, make those changes to wherever the contact form is. It would be just like this one. So you would just go code, the HTML code, and make a lot of those changes. I just have by Mobirise by the add-on. And then once you connect those two pieces of information together, same folder on your web server, and then whenever you go to that web page and someone sends an email, it should go from your form to the PHP file. From the PHP file, they collect the information, gather it together into what's going to be sent to you, and then to the. So it seems a lot more complicated than it necessarily is. There's just a lot of steps. Follow through this. Still have issues, leave a comment, or you can Twitter handle is Brian African. Also, if you want need to send a code or don't know what's going on. Hopefully this helps some people. A lot of people wanted this information. It's taking me a little bit of time to get around to it. I'm sorry about that, but you know, life happens. Now that it's out there, I hope that you can make it better. If there's something that more information that you're looking for or something you're missing, please contact me. Leave a comment down in the comments section of this video. And if you know somebody that this can help, please share it. Free. I'm doing this to help other people to be able to create great websites using Mobirise, because I think it's really solid platform for creating basic level web. All right, well, thanks for watching, and there's lots of other videos both for basic and advanced Mobirise users. Check it out on my channel. And make sure you subscribe. So I'm always trying to create new content, videos based on the questions of others, based on what I think a lot of people might benefit from when they're using Mobirise. So subscribe to my channel, and you'll be able to get updated videos, and I believe you'll get an inbox notification to your email letting you know that I've created a new video. Also, there's a way to sign up on the website tutorial, the actual website. You can sign up for my email list. So it was right here. You can just click this link and sign up to become a member of my email list, and I send out kind of email highlights of things that I've done for the previous month, videos, new things that are going on with me. You'll be able to stay updated. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. For the people who subscribed, really appreciate it. People from all over the world who are creating great websites with Mobirise. If you've made one of those websites, send me the link to the URL. I'm creating a showcase site, and I'll probably also be on YouTube. Also, if you made something great, let me know, and I'll check it out, and we'll see if we can better and better and better websites. All right, thanks, and keep tuning in and watching the video.